G'day guys, so welcome to a quick preview of Randwick today. Good for Rail and the True. Should hopefully get a bit of a old school Randwick here, so they're railing up, getting off the fence in the straight, probably 3 or 4 minimum. Should be tempo related, the pattern, but obviously a slight advantage to be on speed. Hopefully no leader rail bias, keeping an eye on that, that'd be pretty bad, but unexpected. So hopefully we get a pretty true and even surface. Race 1 for the 2-year-olds. Blakestone's been well backed, sort of 220 into $1.90 now, which is to be expected. The tenner Witherspoon $6, $6.50. Probably expect both of those to be fairly easy. Ben Hercules to be easy. I think the runner that's got all the upside and second pick for mine is Churning around the $12 mark, and Wimlar probably a little bit soft to around the $10 mark. Plaguestone's certainly the key to the race. Obviously ran second written by early in its preparation at group level last time. Went straight into the Blue Diamond where it started a $9 chance in a Group 1. Obviously no joy there, and then came back out and had another try at Randwick in the Group 2 level, and was only beat 3.5 lengths before going out. Has trialled in similar strong fashion. I'm worried about its attitude and the way it sort of gets racing pretty aggressively, but it's obviously got a serious amount of talent. 1,000 metres should be ideal. Should be too good for these if he does everything right. The one horse that I'm interested in as a query horse that could be scary is this horse Churning. First start in a race, just have a quick look at what it sort of did there. Pardon me. Notice that it's well away. This is it here in the sort of light bluish colours. Hunted up, which is, and then grabbed hold of, sort of checked out, not sure what happened there. Hunted up again, travels, checked out a little bit again and shuffled before the turn. This is it here, and then when they sort of put the foot down and left a little bit flat-footed, comes wide with the eventual winner, Gen Rules, and lets down really nicely on for a heavy track, especially if it didn't end up really down the outside here. The inside was not too bad, so a really good effort to be strong through the line. I think this horse is a pretty serious horse. Back to the trial since 31 days and trialled well. Minus 100 metres, I've got no issue with it all. I just worry about the tempo maybe to get it into the race. But if it gets the back of Plaguestone, I'm very interested in this horse and think it can run an extremely positive race. The tenner and Witherspoon are professional types. I think they'll run well. Wimlar's probably got to raise its game quite a bit to measure up to this level. I didn't mind the run of Monty Ditto its first start, and don't mind it sitting outside the league here. I think it can battle on, and it's at least a place chance. But it does look a pretty solid little opening race, but very interested in Churning. I think Plaguestone's obviously clearly the horse to beat. Just worried about his manners, and certainly not a horse that I'm excited about taking $1.90 about. Race 2, we've got here highway handicap 1400 metres. Pardon me. For those who are in the chat room early in the week, was pretty keen that they made a mistake here with Lost Command going up sort of $12. You can see that's well and truly gone 12 into $6.50 now. It's run its first up was incredible. With a quick look at it, looking at its form as well, just when it was with sort of Neil Five for a second start, won 1200 metre race, which is good. When it went to Trent Busselton, Natalie Young, first up 1100 metres was a good effort sitting outside the leader, then went straight to 1400 and narrowly beaten. Should have absolutely bolted in there at Pakenham at a night meeting, sat behind the leader, couldn't get out. Then won, and then led and won over 1400. So this horse has now gone to Ron Stubbs. Obviously had a few issues. 413 days off before its first up run over 1100 on a softish track. Jumps 300 metres in distance. But what's interesting is that this horse sort of got back here. It was forward early and got shuffled. So definitely can settle closer, or is an adaptable type, which is important for this race. This is it here, sort of 1100 metres, not, and it was a fast tempo, so they've gone about 19 lengths to the 600 quicker than they normally would for this sort of race. So if this is, we're talking a much different tempo today, 1400. This horse is getting back now, shuffled after being pressured early from a long spell. Still see it getting shuffled here. He misses the boat. This is where he won the protest, like the horse comes underneath him. So he's completely missed the boat here, chopped out and shuffled even further. And obviously is pace assisted eventually, like the back markers here. But this horse did do some work early, so it's nowhere near as well suited as the horse that just sort of popped out and did nothing early. See that he still manages to get to the outside here eventually. And he's quite strong in the line. I thought he definitely did incredible. He just keeps finding, so I'm not worried about him up to 1400 metres at all. I think the better tracks, no worry, even though it is a winner on heavy at Geelong, and obviously performed well there. Fresh, I've got no problem on a soft, sorry, a good for it at Randwick. For this horse is drawn a little tricky, and there are plenty of horses here with a bit of speed. If you sort of see that you got horse, like it says here, Lost Command's the fastest horse in the race, which it probably is, but I doubt it'll be leading today. You've got Gatan short, Prince of Thieves rolling forward, Magic Choir from wide, Cliff looking for a spot, Janama obviously looking for a spot. There's plenty of horses looking for position, so I'm not real worried about the draw. It's got sort of pace inside and out, so you have to be unlucky to be wide, no cover. Considering we've got the better price, that'll probably what will happen. But this horse is very interesting here, and I think it'll run well. I love these sort of horses with city form coming back to these highways, obviously. And does go up a little bit in weight for that, but I'm not really concerned because it definitely does go down in grade. These horses are pretty good chances. Gatan's very one-paced. Pardon me. Cliff had his chance last time. He's pretty one-paced too. Prince of Thieves again one-paced. Magic Choir is an interesting horse for mine. First up over 1,000, got a bit tired and was in the worst part of the track. Been back to the trials since and had a really good sound out, so I expect it to improve, but it does draw really awkwardly. Butt Choi's raising significantly in grade. Nick Anita has had its chance to a certain degree, but does get back on a dry surface, which does look interesting. Draws to settle back in behind these, and will need a bit of luck, but can run well for sure. I thought Gronky's an improver here. Sure Shot Says is absolutely flying for mine. I don't like the rider change, but he's an underrated horse that can run a race here. So sort of it, $26. Gronky, $26. I think their value. Nick Anita's probably the horse to beat, but I'm certainly more interested in Lost Command and maybe throwing Magic Choir in your exotics as well. So I think they're the horses that I'm most interested in here. I'm not too keen on Gatan, even though he's a city class horse. I think he probably needs a little bit further in a race where he can dictate, which this doesn't look yet to my eye. Race 3. 2,400 metres, 4 horses in the race, won't spend much time on it at all. I think Ombudsman ticks all the boxes here. If we look at his form prior to last start, he had nothing on wet tracks at all. He'd been to that 900 Canterbury, didn't look to handle it at all. Took forever to do anything there, even though he was kind of pace assisted. And then he went up in grade. He obviously dropped in weight and took care of some pretty talent, like pretty tough stayers, only Tiger, on a heavy track up to 2,400 metres. Obviously they went pretty quick there and ran a good time. So this horse is primed to run well over 2,400 metres. I think he can only improve on the good track. He's certainly not meeting a higher grade of horse than he met last start, and he's getting 8 kilos off the horse that's really shown anything at this sort of level. So I think Ombudsman's the winner. Obviously the price reflects that, $1.70, $1.75, set into $1.60 some places. Now I'd use it. I'd nearly throw it in $1.75 in multis if I was, inclined to do that, even though it is a 1.5 mile race and the horse is deep into its preparation. It certainly is a horse that is well set up here compared to some, I'm not going to say average types, but horses that are, probably not showing the promise this horse is. So he's clearly the horse to beat here, and I think I've got him marked even shorter than his $1.75 mark. No real threat. So Brace has got to get to 2,400 metres for his first time, and Velardo's coming up from what was a very average race in Melbourne and certainly needs to improve again on that. And it did take forever to wind up. I think this horse has got a superior turn of foot, just sits back last and waits and waits and waits, and has McAvoy, who is ideal for these sort of races. Race 4. Interesting race this, but betting's probably the best way to start again. If we... Gresham, extremely short, $3, does get the right run, but is at an interesting stage in his preparation. I'll have a look at that in a second. Gore was going okay down in Melbourne, quite short at $4, I thought. La Chica Bella's extremely short, comes off where it found a really, the right race last start, dropped in distance there, ran a really fast, chased a fast speed and put them away, which was really good, but the last sections were really slow. I think it just found a group that were basically not strong enough to run this horse down, which it does not meet today. It meets some stronger horses. One horse I'm interested in is Dagny. I think $11 is a big price. This horse back to a mile, which is ideal. Back to a good track is definitely not a negative either. Just a matter of where this horse gets to and how much tempo there is. So there's a bit of pressure. I can see this horse certainly finishing really hard. Green Sweet was good first up. Block Ryan obviously got it a bit too far back there and a bit casual. Probably the horse surprised him how well it went. It doesn't face a much easier Tusky. $14 is probably about right. I think the horse that certainly is above its odds is Dagny. Kunawara, drawn to be right there, is a tough horse. He'll battle away at $9.50. And then you've got Gresham, will sit behind the speed today. Certainly run well, but $3 is nice and skinny. Galway, not sure whether they go forward or back with it. And La Chica Bella, who will go forward and battle on. There is quite a few go forward horses here, so I can certainly see Dagny sort of on an each way basis, needing a bit of pressure up front, but certainly the one that should be finishing off. And if it did happen to sort of slot in midfield, it's certainly the horse to beat for mine. Gresham's deep in his prep, as we sort of said. He's had 5 runs in. He struck that purple patch where he sort of went bang bang when being able to dictate, or just he followed the leader there at Canterbury. Last time he was on the inside and stayed there, which was weird, but was still a little bit one-paced and disappointing. Whether he's come to the end of it or not, this stable's always very hard to work out with these sort of horses. 3 weeks between runs to fresh him up a touch. He's obviously a dual acceptor, and they chose to go here. All good signs that he's sort of back on track, as well as being well backed in early betting, but $6.50 into $3. Pardon me. Sorry. But he should run well. I think Dagny each way is the play. Race 5. Not many scratchings here. I think the most interesting part about this race is the speed that looks quite solid. So we've got Mad for Art coming across from a wide gate. You Make Me Small, Cracked It rising in distance, which could be against this horse. Not against it, it could be against where it gets to. I'm not sure where it gets to. It's a hard going sort of looking thing that could certainly race more forward over this at a distance. You Make Me Smile is the horse I would love to see press a little bit early and then just hopefully find a position, because there are some kicking up by sort of bombarding. Stone Cold Oreo want to kick up from these middle gates. Who knows where Wanda gets to up to this distance. It's an interesting race. That the pressure early in the race is certainly a big key. I'm hoping there is a little bit, but I'm hoping You Make Me Smile presses and even Sparkly Star can sort of go forward here. There's a lot of horses that want to find a spot. Again, looking for value. I'm around Oreo. I think it's probably can be strong sitting off them somewhere here, but I don't see it dictating over the 1200. Sparkly Star's an interesting horse. If they press the button, $21 could be a right price. I don't mind the form race it comes from, which is also You Make Me Smile. Bombarding comes from that race. I can't for the life of me work out how Bombarding $7 and You Make Me Smile is double the odds. The draw and the rider obviously interesting, but I can't see that big a difference in their form. If we just watch the last part of this race last start, obviously went back in distance on a firm track, hard track, sorry, on a wet track. comes back to firm ground, which I don't think is an issue. This horse was just never comfortable. Had to sort of work to race. You can see it getting over racing here. Ends up kicking through and leading. Gets it on the inside, which is definitely not the right place to be. It's still in front despite all this at the 100-metre mark, and that's bombarding outside. It only just gets the better of it. This is Bella Success, so this horse has probably had the least luck in the races, in the worst going. It's $15. These two horses $6. Obviously needs a little bit of luck today, but I can't see why that difference in price is. The other horse that I am interested in the race is Schnitzel Day. I don't think it ran the distance at all at 1,500 metres. And a hard run too, both of them. If it slots in somewhere here, back to the 1,200 on a good track, I can see it as the big improver in the race, and it's around the $17 mark as well, $19. So I don't think it's a high confidence race. I do like Bombarding as a horse. I think $7 is a good price hit. I really think that You Make Me Smile should be similar odds, and probably Schnitzel Day should be around the $9, $10 mark as well. So I think it's a wide open race. No super confidence. I'm around Mad for Art this time. I've got to risk Crackneck. Got to risk Sea Glass first up. Definitely risking Wander. So if I was to have a 3-horse player, it'd be those 3 horses that probably came out of that same race. Or you've got to leave one of them out. It's probably Bella Success, because I'm having Schnitzel Day as my run-on horse. So if you're sort of covering bases here, it's Bombarding on pace. Hopefully You Make Me Smile gets a bit of luck. Doesn't have to. Could probably get back and still be in the finish here. And Schnitzel Day as well. I think they're all over their odds. The other two obviously more than Bombarding. Race 6. Seahampton, very short price favourite here. Wary of horses like this coming up short. There does look to be some good speed in this race, potentially, with Mandeline and Erithea coming across from wide gates here. And then we've got horses like Ruby Rampart who want to be on speed as well. So there should be decent enough speed. Cassidy as well, resuming from a long break for a new trainer. Could head forward too. Who's to know what it'll do? Sort of fresh here with the rider who can get a bit aggressive on them early. So there could be good tempo, or these horses could slide across and really control things. It's kind of up to Ruby Rampart and the riders of these two horses out wide in Mandeline and Erithea. If they just take their time and slide across, they could certainly improve their chances, and that could hurt Seahampton, who's drawn in an awkward position here to where it gets. It should be probably midfield or worse. It's tough to say. Does have a pretty aggressive rider in Blake Shin on it, so he'll probably identify that and try and sit a little bit closer, but it's also tempo related. He's got the beauty of seeing what sort of unfolds early. So Seahampton's an interesting horse. Definitely found the right part of the track there last up, which is an issue, but did finish off powerfully. You've got to just worry a little bit about the strength of its form lines to this stage. Like, we're talking about horses like Excelsior, who was first up there, Aurea, Mr. Houseman, who was beaten at the midweek since. This horse did come out and win Island Missile impressively, but was in the worst part of the track there, stayed to the inside. It is an interesting horse to try and line up. Not a horse I'm keen to take short odds about. Not a race I'm really keen to get involved in. The horse that I am interested in is Mandeline, who did some incredible things at first preparation. Went 13.50 to a mile and won at second start, then went to a Group 3, only beaten 2.5. Came back and won the $150,000 provincial qualifier, then ran a really bold race when it was pretty much destroyed in the final, sitting outside a suicidal tempo, and it set a really fast tempo at Kembla too. So this horse has got all the ability in the world. If it sort of cruised across and got a decent time of it, I think it can run an enormous race. No super confidence, but $10 is certainly a price that you could have something on this horse to find out first up, because it just could keep going. It's the only horse in the race I've got any interest in backing whatsoever. Erithea was 25 to 1. It looks interesting if it came across with it and they sort of controlled tempo. Maybe the two of them. I think Touch of Mix certainly suited back to 1400 and on top of the ground. Forgive its run last start when he was just trying to improve to a position that wasn't there well too early in the race and took the finish out of the horse. That was a mile on a heavy track. So so it can improve back to the 14 on a good track if they do overdo it in front. You can see Hampton look the closers, Nicky's Gold to a lesser degree. Race 7, 1100 metre open. Really tough race, and one that I really couldn't get too excited about. Nothing I could find here that I wanted to back. There does look good competition for the front, but not overly aggressive speed, which is, it depends if these couple here want to get into a speed duel. You know, Isa Rich, Noble Joey, Easy Eddie and Memes. They could go quick. Sir Plush, I'm not sure whether they go forward or back. It's drawn in the doldrums. Boss Lane's got the blinkers on first up. He can get aggressive and certainly suited to this grade. Doubt Yellow's one that probably wants to sit just behind him with a sit, and then Memes is drawn inside and wants to kick up. Then you've got these sort of horses that want to camp just behind the speeding Tactical Advantage. I thought so. Tough race to work the tempo out. Tough race to line them up. I thought so's coming back in distance, back onto a good track. 28 days between runs, and we've got Tactical Advantage first up for 230 days to the new trainer. Blinkers off, has been trialling nicely. Does look to be going well. Easy Eddie hard fit, backing up, back in distance. Noble Joey coming back to a dry track and going up slightly in distance. It's really difficult to line these up for mine. I really couldn't get a handle on the race too much. I couldn't find anything in betting that excited me. I'm definitely not that keen to chime into 360, 370. I thought so from an awkward draw when it's going to need luck. Don't really want to be with Memes. Sir Plush, if it was 20 to 1, I could have something on it. Doubt Yellow's not the worst. Tactical Advantage definitely can't come into it $4. Easy Eddie $6 doesn't excite me. Noble Joey's probably around its right price. There's just no edge here for mine, and nothing I can really be for or against. It's a tough race, very evenly matched, and you know there's a couple of horses that could probably win with luck in running. I think I thought so. Sir Plush, if it sort of got that 3 wide, 1 back or 2 back position, could unleash. And maybe Noble Joey's going better than it looks too. I think his win last up was pretty solid, and if he's sort of 3 wide on speed and they didn't go too hard, he's the horse that could keep bobbing. It's an interesting race, but not one that I want to get too involved in. Race 8, Bandipur. I can't work out why they're keeping this horse to 1,000 metres. We're looking at his old form. I thought he was probably suited 11-1200. I know he's doesn't seem like a big difference, but this horse just looks a little bit one pace for 1,000 metres for me. I know he's been on heavy tracks and got back, which has not been ideal. He found the sweet spot last time and closed on solidly, but he certainly had his chance to do better there. And now he finds a race that's not that deep, and with the scratching of Single Bullet, sorry to take it out, it was the horse I was actually quite interested in, keen on at the price it was. I'm not sure why they've scratched it, but they'll save him for another day. He does find a group of pretty evenly matched horses that have found their level to a certain degree, whereas he has got some genuine black type form, already a listed winner, and he's listed winner, listed placed, and a winner in open company. It just irks me to want to be trying to chime into whatever it is here, $2.15 or something crazy. These horses on speed have their own life in their own hands to a certain degree. I think Want to Get a Watt's drawn ideally. He's a momentum horse that'll just cruise forward. Jungle Eyes can certainly run well fresh. He's trialling up nicely, even though he's been trialling over this sort of distance already. I think if he controls the tempo, he can run well. It doesn't look at an aggressive tempo for a 1,000 metre race. Sort of show here that Want to Get a Watt and Jungle Eyes can cruise across. Horses like Salerno and El Mio Destino are not going to go hard, you wouldn't imagine, and then it's up to others to find positions. I think it looks a pretty controlled tempo for 1,000, which could be against Bandipur, who's he's not a serious sit sprinter for mine over 1,000 metres, and they should rip home pretty quick here, which will obviously make it more difficult. I think back on top of the ground doesn't look too bad, even though it is a 7-length winner on a heavy track. So it's hard to say that it's a positive getting back on top of the ground, but it does look like he's in need of it. I'm scared that he's a 1,200 metre horse looking for 1,200 metres now. Back staying at the 1,000 with the big weight drawn inside, he's probably going to need a bit of luck. and it could get congested here with the horses that can finish, you know, pretty quickly their last 600. So want to get at what Jungle Eyes are interesting for me. I think that Black Chili's interesting if it finds an just off speed position, which it could if it follows Jungle Eyes across. And then you've got these horses, Nick on the Run and Rebel Miss, who've only that need luck from Rebel Miss. Just needs it to be ultimately perfectly timed. It's got a 50-metre sprint, but if it's held up, it can get over the top of anyone for that short period. Nick on the Run needs all the luck in the world from that gate, but I really do think these two on paces want to get a what, and Jungle Eyes can run positive races at odds, and just concerned that Band of Fur's not a 1,000-metre horse. Race 9, 1,400 metres to finish the day, and the most interesting race for me on the card in Invictus Prince. No secret for people who obviously know that we were on last start that I thought he'd run well there, and I was surprised that he stayed to the inside. I just, going through this race so many times, think he just could be better than them. Obviously 1,400 metres is short of his performed distances in Germany and the UK. I think the UK was where he raced mostly, but he's a winner over a mile over there. Certainly, and 1,900 can transfer to 1,400. I thought his run was not that taxing first up, that he's really going to be looking for further than, well, it was 1,300, so he's only getting extra 100. I'm saying he doesn't need to get to the mile. He did look like he took a little bit of time to wind up there, even though he was in the worst going, but right through the line. Only interested in the last 150, 200 metres. Here we watch, he's not doing a whole lot, but he is in the worst going here. These runners have certainly found the speed slot. And then if we watch when he switches into clear running, right late, he just seems to be just only winding up here and nearly rounds these horses up in a couple of strides in the worst going. So I'm not saying he was just certainly beaten there, but I think if he had got to the outside, it could have been a different story. He races a very similar bunch of horses here. That one worry is a lack of tempo. We're seeing that, you know, these horses out wide, Mapmaker, Burning Energy, Onslaught, probably roll forward, No Escape, So Spirited. None of these are really fast horses. So the one thing that could happen quite easily is a line of 3 or 4 coming to the turn, which again could suit this horse. If he ends up 4 wide, 2 or 3 back, I doubt he rides for luck again here. I can see this horse just rounding them up regardless of a slow tempo. Obviously prefer a little bit of speed on, and then if they go hard early, back it off. This horse can get into the race and then they come home. I think that's ideal, which could easily happen. Looking at the betting, these horses in the betting, so $8.50 Invictus Prince, it's got out. I'm chiming into $7.50 at 2 in the morning this morning, thinking it might go off, but Redouble draws terribly awkwardly, 61.5. Obviously found the fast lane there, but I can't justify the difference in price, even though it did beat at home last start. I think there were reasons. I think Handfast can run well. Blinkers go on. It draws a positive gate this time. Can certainly race closer than it has been. Sanction's an interesting horse first up. Where does it get to from gate 12? And we're saying the same price with a horse that you know is going well, has had it run back. Sanction obviously set for longer, but he's a classy type. Curdle's a horse that's well prepared for this race, getting a little bit deeper into his preparation now, but he certainly is racing well enough, draws ideally, and $8.50 seems about right, but it's not a horse that really likes to put a race away. I thought Mapmaker is an interesting horse that can run well from that wide draw, cruise forward, ready to go now. Rachel King probably suits it at this stage as a preparation. If they go forward, it can battle on, and Travancore's the horse that I think will certainly appreciate coming back to a dry track and will be one of the ones closing. So I think I like these two horses, Mapmaker and Travancore, from a value perspective. I think Sanctioned and Curdle are near their right price. Handfast as well, probably a smidgen of value, but I really think this horse at $8.50 is the one that could be it could look back and say it should have been $2.50, $3. It's just a matter of whether you can run on and it doesn't get that bit of luck that it needs tempo-wise, or a drag into the race at the right time to sort of cart it up and not be exposed too early and have to circle them all and do all the work himself. But I think $8.50 is well and truly a big enough price to counter for that. This horse is a pretty talented horse, I think, and I just can't wait to see him conserved early and brought to the outside and see what he can really do. So that's a quick look at the day. Hopefully we have a bit of luck, and that's all we really do need is a bit of luck. It is a tough day, but we'll probably play it pretty conservatively and hope for a result late in the day. Thanks, guys.